Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be the sexual revolution and how it has completely changed the way we are able to show up in life. It's amazing when you look at it, when you look at, say, like the past 100 years. Started out in like the early 1900s when women first got the right to vote, not only in the United States, but it spread around the world. And over the years, like especially like in the 50s, 60s, when the birth control pill was first introduced, for the first time, women were able to basically pop a pill on a regular basis and be able to have unprotected sex and not worry about getting pregnant. I mean, the failure rate was like, what, 1 out of 100? I mean, it's such a small percentage where, one gets slid past the goalie. So it basically helped create and move along the sexual revolution. And so when you look at our society, I mean, the things that go on in today's society, I mean, hell, I mean, you look at like Europe, Steve, like especially like France, I mean, it's like full-on nudity. I mean, stuff that you'd like see back here in the States, and you'd think, well, that's like pornography here to us. I mean, they just have a very free, very open society. I mean, we're sexual beings. And when you look at history and how different world religions have basically created structures that have sexually repressed people for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years, and as technology is advancing and science is advancing, we're able to interact with one another in ways that we never were able to before. We're able now to connect with like-minded people all over the world, whether it's online dating or connecting with people on Facebook or Twitter or one of the other social networks. I mean, you're basically in literally in a matter of minutes, able to find hundreds and even thousands of people all over the world who like the same kinds of things that you do, who are into the same kinds of things that you do. And it just gives us, the amount of opportunity that we have now to show up and be who we really are is greater than we've ever been. I mean, think about it. It's a pretty commonplace thing these days to see interracial couples, to see a guy that's got 2 girlfriends, to see a guy who is a serial monogamist. You look at someone like George Clooney, who just goes from like one chick to the next every couple of years, or Leonardo DiCaprio is famous for that, and it's totally acceptable and it's totally cool. And when you look at like people that get married, I mean, like, what's our divorce rate? It's like over 50%, and so even more and more, marriage is becoming less and less the thing that's the norm, because usually, I mean, in years past, a lot of people entered into marriage because they were going to have a family, they were going to raise kids. It's what everybody wanted to do, and now it's become so easy, and people are able to earn, men and women both are able to earn a living on their own. And so if they don't want to have a family or they don't want to have a serious relationship, they can choose to focus on the things that they want to focus on in their life. I mean, you look at gay and lesbian couples. I mean, they're adopting kids, and it's totally commonplace now. Whereas, I mean, the things that I write about and the things that people ask me about are the types of things that literally just a few hundred years ago, we all would have been burned at the stake for learning about this stuff or even reading something like this. I mean, it was unbelievable how these old, archaic religious institutions just controlled and impacted our sexual relationships with one another. And now it's amazing. I mean, I'm 41 years old, and I mean, I've seen it in my own lifetime, just listening to my parents talk the way things were when they were growing up and seeing how things are now. I mean, when I was a little kid in the 70s, you had the Brady Bunch on TV, and Mom and Dad were sitting in the bed together, and that was like the first TV show to ever do that, to show Mom and Dad and sitting in the same bed together, because usually in the past, sex or sexual innuendo was always something that, whenever you saw a scene in the bedroom, Mom and Dad they always had 2 separate beds, just like, you and your brother or you and your sister had, and there was never any hint or sexual innuendo. And like now you turn on every single TV show, and it's like borderline what was once considered pornography just a few years ago. So it's cool. And the other thing is, like, when I look at technology and how it's changed the ways that we interact with one another and how we work. I mean, when I was in real estate in the mortgage business, we had a very overhead intense business. I mean, I had my partners and I, we had 40 employees, we had 7 companies between us. We had a 10,000 square foot, $2.5 million office building, and we grossed about $7 million a year. And we needed all these people to do all these kinds of things, and it was in just a small area of the state of Florida, which was Orlando, Central Florida area. And the business that I have now, everybody that works for me, they're all independent contractors, and these guys and girls are literally located throughout the world. And when I need them to do something for me, they can just log right into the website, or everything's done right over the internet. And I can pay them over the internet. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, as long as I have an internet connection and my laptop, I can operate my business from anywhere in the world. I can pay all my bills from anywhere in the world. So I can be a traveling Wilbury if I want to and go tour Europe for 3 months with my girlfriends and just hotel room hop. You just go from one cool place to the next, work when I want to work, you know, because I schedule my own appointments. And my point of bringing this all up is, if you want to be really happy in life, if you want to be successful, if you want to be fulfilled, if you want to start attracting the kind of women into your life that you've always wanted, you got to start doing more things that you love. You got to follow your heart, your curiosity, your intuition. You need to work at jobs and careers doing things that are fun, that excite you, because then you're going to feel more successful at it. And the more happy you are in your work and the more successful you feel at it, the more successful you're going to feel as a man, and the more women are going to find you sexually attractive. And if you're a woman watching it, it's going to have the same effect, because if you're doing something, even if you're a hairdresser, as long as you're doing something you love, you'll be radiant and sexy just by doing it. It's the same effect. It's like you become more outgoing, more expressive. It's like you expand into the world more. It's just absolutely amazing. And it's like the cost to start a business today, the cost to be an entrepreneur, if you've got a dream or a business you've always wanted to start, or some kind of consulting that you wanted to do. I mean, you can literally start it, I mean, with WordPress and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these free services out there. It costs you next to nothing to start up a business, where just a few years ago you had to spend hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars on a monthly basis to rent an office space, to get an internet connection and do all that stuff. And now what's so cool about it is that you can start a business on the internet on a shoestring budget for no more than like a few dollars a day, maybe $100 a month at the most, is all you're going to end up spending overhead-wise. So you can be building and incubating your business for several years in your garage or your house, or simply on your laptop computer at home or your desktop computer at home. And once it gets to the point where it's bringing in enough extra cash that you can actually leave your job and work at that part-time business full-time, and then you're totally mobile. I mean, think about it. To be able to go, I've got one of my good friends of mine, he wants to take his kids and go to Europe and raise his kids and homeschool them and travel throughout Europe just so they can see the world. And so he's in the process of looking for a job that will give him the same kind of income that he's got now, where he can literally go work anywhere in the world that he's got a computer connection. And so it's like, when you look at like office buildings, I mean, everything is totally changing. I mean, before, when you had office buildings, it's like you would lease a big part of the space. And now office buildings are changing because the industry is changing and the market is changing. And now you've got a lot of small-time entrepreneurs that, you know, are just like me. They don't have a huge staff, but they need a place to work. And so they just rent a small space to work out of. And then maybe on the upper floors of the office building, you have some of the other tenants that are bigger. I mean, it's amazing how the ways that we work and we interact with one another has totally changed. It's like, never before in human history have you had the opportunity to be in the kinds of relationships that you've wanted to have the kind of sexual relationships that you've wanted to have, to experiment and date with all kinds of different women, as opposed to basically settling down and marrying the first person that comes along or that you're introduced to in life. And then after you're with them for a few years, you figure out that you never really liked them to begin with. Nowadays, you can just be who you are. You can travel the world. You can work from a hotel room. I was just reading recently. There's this guy who's he inherited basically $250,000 in a trust fund when he was 21. And I think the guy's like 45, 47 years old, and he's a billionaire now. He turned that money into, I think he trades hedge funds or something like that. He doesn't own a house. He doesn't own a car. He owns a Gulfstream jet. And he basically flies all over the world, stays at 5-star hotels, and is basically meeting with heads of state. And because he's a philanthropist, however you say that, he's basically involved in helping use his wealth to make the world a better place. And that's what's so cool about it. You get the sexual revolution mixed up with the technological revolution, and I mean, you can go fly to Paris and go hang out at a nightclub or a social place and learn the skills and stuff that I teach and hook up and have a great connection with a chick, and then a short time later, you're fucking each other's brains out in your hotel room. And the next day, you're meeting somebody else, and maybe later that night, the girl that you met the day before comes over, and the one that you've been screwing that day comes over, and then you have a threesome. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you can do whatever you want. And the key is that you got to be who you are. What you should be is not important. So if you find these messages of value, you can show your appreciation by going, if you're watching this on my website, you can go to the Wibbia toolbar, which is at the bottom of your screen, click the PayPal donate button, and donate any amount that you feel is equal to the value of the information that you received in this video. At the very least, please share this page with all of your friends and family by clicking any one of the social network sharing buttons, which are also located on the Wibbia toolbar below. If you have a question that you'd like to ask me, or there's a topic that you'd like me to cover in a future video newsletter, click the Contact Me tab on the left-hand side of your screen. Send me several paragraphs detailing your situation, and give me several days to get back to you with a detailed response. If you'd like to book a paid phone coaching session with me personally, just click the Products tab, which is located at the top of your screen, and follow the instructions for booking a paid phone coaching session with me, and I will talk to you next time.